West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes. Welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. In fact, this is the first one of the new year. Happy New Year to all followers, subscribers of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. If you've been with us from day one, a special Happy New Year to you. We go again. What's this? Our fifth year? Is this our fifth year of running this podcast? Mad ting, sad ting. We're still going. Can't stop, won't stop. Listen, I'm on behalf of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel St. Patrick Hewitt. And as the first one of the year, my understanding, having looked at the West Indies itinerary, is that the men's senior team is flying out today on their way to Pakistan ahead of the two-match down bad test series against said Pakistan. And we're at a key slide. Well, isn't it ever? But we are actually at a key sliding doors moment of West Indies Test cricket. And I say that because we know that after this particular Test series, Andre Coley will move back into the kind of development pathway system. And in June, when the new World Test Championship cycle starts with a 3-match Test series against Australia, we will have a new head coach. That will be Daren Sammy. And everyone assumes it will be all change. I don't think it's as straightforward as that. Everyone's assuming that all these white ball players will suddenly play Test cricket and Sammy will be able to convince people like Brandon King, maybe a Shea Hope, maybe a Shafane Rutherford. Who knows? People are just assuming that he'll be able to convince certain people to come and play Test match cricket. That's for then. What we need to do is talk about the here and the now, because Daren Sammy's 2, 3, 4 months away. We still got to try win some Test matches. We got 10 Test matches in 2025, 2 against Pakistan, 3 against Australia, 2 against India, 3 against New Zealand. We have to find a way to not go 0-10 in 2025. This is the realest talk. This ain't negative talk. This is the realest talk. Avoiding 0-10 is the mission in 2025. And when I started thinking about this Pakistan series, and I mentioned it in one of the last few episodes before 2024 came to an end, and I started talking about who's got to perform, who has to perform in 2025. Now, on the surface, the answer's easy. The whole damn squad needs to perform. But actually, it's a bit more nuanced than that. Of the 15 players that have gone to Pakistan, there are some players in my mind who, if they do not perform in Pakistan, they can have no complaints if Daren Sammy was to drop them ahead of the Australia series. And we've spoken about this before as well on previous editions of the Monday Night Mashup, the Monday Night Call-In show, where some people have disagreed about how long should a player be given before you think about maybe moving them on or telling them to go back to domestic cricket and find some form and so on and so forth. By the way, people, let me pause right here. See this, right? I've been needing a trim for the longest while, but today I decided no trim for the whole of January. I decided no more trims, Babylon met mirror for man to trim, let me not. No trimming, No trim. What are you lot saying? No trim for the whole of January? Look like a wild man of Borneo out here. Anyways, let's move. That was a side. I won't get this on any other cricket channel then. So I looked at the team. Now, I think, let me read this out to you lot. These were the Test match. The changes, we're looking specifically at the batting. I think the bowlers have stood up. Jaden Seals, Test star of the year, 35 wickets at 20. Kimar wrote 17 wickets at 21. Even Alzari Joseph, no, in fact, he was subpar, but he took his wicket, however many wickets at 34. Shamar Joseph, 29 wickets at 27. Jamel Warrican took his wickets at 21 apiece. Moti was technically down bad in 2024, but the bowlers, we're not really looking at them too tough. They did their job. They were on job in 2024, largely speaking. It's the batters that were down horrendous, down cataclysmic, down horrible, down bad, down everything. Listen to this, people. These are the 2024 numbers. Justin Graves, 207 runs at 30. Kavem Hodge, 516 runs at 29. Alec Athanaze, 448 runs at 25. Machel Louis, 333 runs at 24. Kevin Sinclair, 69 runs at 23. I know, obviously, not everyone's played the same amount of matches. Josh Da Silva, 356 runs at 22. Keacy Carty, 172 runs at 22. Craig Brathwaite, 372 runs at 21. Kurt McKenzie, 171 runs at 17. That is associate level returns. There's no two ways of looking at it. Call me negative, call me this, call me that. That is associate level returns in cricket. And we can't go on justifying it or saying, but you know, they're young, they're learning in real time, they're learning on the job. We have to give them 18 months. No. 2025 is the year when I finally stop making excuses. Do your job. Do your job. And this ain't no clickbait thing. This ain't clickbait. We have to have standards. We have to have standards in West Indies cricket. We can't just keep making excuses. At the end, at some point, we all need to, and by we, I mean everyone, media, stakeholders, the players themselves, we all need to look at it and go, it's just not good enough. Those numbers can't repeat in 2024, much less those numbers can't repeat in Pakistan. So who's under pressure? Who's under pressure? Here's the way I see it. Let me go back to my numbers right here. Let me bring this here so I can see it readily. Let's go for the list. Justin Graves, can he afford to fail in Pakistan? Yes. I'm going to break it down simply like this. Yes, no, or maybe. Justin Graves can afford to fail in Pakistan. He has a century from the Bangladesh series on debut. By fail, by the way, I mean no 50s. Oh boy, we're down cataclysmic. When I say fail, I mean Justin Graves can afford to go through 4 test match innings against Pakistan, not record a 50, and I'd still be picking him for the Australia series. That's how I'm defining this. Can I just point out, though, people, that not getting a 50 doesn't mean you've done terribly, because within that, he might get a couple of 30s. He might get a 40 and a 30. In the state of West Indies cricket right now, I'm taking that. But in the context of being a top order batter and going for a test series and not getting a 50, we call them ones failure. Can Justin Graves afford to fail? Yes. Moving on. Can Kavem Hodge afford to fail against Pakistan? He scored 120. He got a century and a 50 in England. He didn't score. He got like 20s against South Africa, and then he got a 50 against Bangladesh. Can Kavem Hodge afford to fail versus Pakistan? Maybe. I think Kavem Hodge is a maybe. I think maybe he can afford to fail, but he probably needs a 50. He needs 150 out of 4. There's a couple uncles listening to this right now going, boy, standards in West Indies cricket drop bad. Yeah, they drop bad. I'm begging for a 150. I'm not begging for 2. I'm not making this too tough, 150. Kavem can maybe afford to fail, but he needs 150 out of his 4 innings that he's going to bat. Moving on. You lot can disagree with this, but the difference between me and a lot of people who get in the comments is I'm being realistic. I ain't asking these players to do something that I don't think they can do. I'm trying to be realistic about what they can do versus a realistic expectation as well. Alec Athanaze, can he afford to fail versus Pakistan? Now, Alec got a 90-odd and a 40-odd in the first test versus Bangladesh. So technically, that should give him some credit in the bank. But because he was down, I mean, he got a 90 odd against South Africa as well. The problem for Alec right now is Alec is a 1 in 4, maybe a 1 in 5 performer. So if he goes through Pakistan and doesn't get any 50s, I'm dropping him. And I've got stocks in Alec. But if Alec goes through the Pakistan tour and makes 0 50s, it's time to hold a drop. It has to be time to hold a drop, because by then, I swear, let me just check my stats, but by then, I swear Alec would have played. Let me just check my numbers, people. I swear he would be in like 20 odd test innings by then. Let me just check my numbers, people. Bear with me. 21. By the end of the Pakistan test series, assuming Alec plays in all of the test matches, Alec would have batted 25 innings and had 13 test matches. He got 3 50s in 18 innings last year. That's not. If he fails versus Pakistan, dropped. There, said it. Fails versus Pakistan, he has to hold a drop. You can disagree with me, people, but that's how I'm seeing it. He cannot afford to fail in Pakistan. Machel Louis. Santoki made this point to me a while back. By the time Machel Louis finishes playing the test series versus Pakistan, he would have played more test matches than first-class regional matches. He would have played 7 regional matches and 9 test matches. He got a 97, I think, against Bangladesh in that first test match. Where was that first test again? Was it in Antigua? Anyways, he got a 97. That was his biggest or his highest test score so far. Test year, difficult test year for him. Had to play England, had to play South Africa, and then had Bangladesh at the end. Can Louis afford to fail versus Pakistan? No, he can't. He can't. Louis needs a score over 50. He needs at least one score over 50 to keep his spot. Not even asking for 2. He needs one score over 50 to keep his spot. Alec, sorry, when I said Alec can't afford to fail, I should have pointed out that Alec needs one big score. A big score means like 80 or 90 odd to keep his spot. Machel Louis just needs one score over 50 to keep his spot. So he can't afford to fail. He can't. Alec and Machel cannot leave the Pakistan tour with no 50s. Otherwise, they have to be dropped. Kevin Sinclair. I'm not even sure Kevin Sinclair is going to play, so I'm leaving him out. Josh De Silva. Can he afford to fail versus Pakistan? Absolutely not. Josh, if you're listening, you're my guy, but you need a 50. You need a 50. You need a plus 50 score, and you need a gritty 40-something to stay in the test side. Josh might all be captain by the time Australia comes round, but to stay in the team, Josh needs a plus 50 score and a gritty 40 to stay in the West Indies test side. He cannot afford to fail versus Pakistan. He cannot. Craig Brathwaite, West Indies test captain. I'm expecting this Pakistan series to be Craig's last series as captain. I'm expecting him to stand down. I don't want him to, but I'm expecting him to stand down after Pakistan. Can Craig Brathwaite afford to fail versus Pakistan? It's technical. Watch everyone get angry now with me. It's technical for Craig. And let me tell you why it's technical. If Louis fails and Craig fails, hear me out. Listen, because some of you, when you watch Caribbean Cricket Podcast, you don't actually engage your brains and you don't actually listen to the point that's being made before you start typing in the comments and talking foolishness. Listen. If Louis fails and Craig fails, Louis holds a drop before Craig. Let me explain why. Because Craig's the experienced one, and you would what test team do you know would drop 2 set of test openers at the same time? You'll keep one. You won't drop both. You think Sammy's going to go into a brand new test series against Australia with 2 brand new openers, unless he's suddenly convincing Evan Lewis to suddenly play test cricket. And there is no other opener. There's no other opener in the region. Don't say Brandon King. Brandon King's not a red ball opener, right? There's no other opener in the region. So if Louis fails, and he fails worse than Craig fails, Craig will keep his spot. He almost has to keep his spot because Louis will have to hold a drop. And you'd have to keep the experienced man to then bring somebody else in. So it's kind of technical with Craig. Just looking at Craig in and of himself, can he afford to fail? No, because he had a bad run of it in 2024. But unlike everybody else in the West Indies test team, Craig had a good 2022. Sorry, Craig had a good 2021. He had an excellent 2022, and he had a good 2023, and then he had a horrendous 2024. Unlike everybody else in the West Indies current top 7, Craig's actually done stuff. He can look back in 3 of his last 4 calendar years in West Indies cricket and go, I did stuff. I was on job. I did my job. No one else can. No one else can say, I did my job. And let me just clarify what doing your job means. Doing your job means averaging minimum over 30. No one else is on job. So whilst I get it, in isolation, can Craig afford to fail? No. But if Machel Louis fails, Craig is going to keep his spot irrespective, or should I say, keep his spot irrespective of if Machel Louis fails, because Craig at least has done stuff. Craig's got test centuries. You add up the rest of the squad put together and you can't equal Craig Brathwaite's test centuries. So it's a bit, this is what I'm saying. Caribbean Cricket Podcast, we're nuanced out here. This ain't a defense of Craig. Don't get twisted. It's not a defense of Craig. Again, just because I know there's people hard of hearing out the back and round the sides. In isolation, can Craig afford to fail? No. But in the context of 2 test match openers, who's got the shorter rope? It's Machel Louis. Because Machel Louis only played 7 first-class games in his whole career. It's easier to tell Machel Louis to go back into first-class cricket and work on his game than it is to tell Craig to do it. Because if Craig goes back to first-class cricket, he's going to beat up on all those bowlers like he's been doing every other year. So if you're going to tell 2 openers to work on their game whilst in the cut and thrust of top-class international cricket, which of those 2 do you trust to be able to do that better? Do you get where I'm coming from? But in isolation, can Craig Brathwaite afford to fail? No. Listen, people, I don't expect you all to agree. In fact, I expect people to disagree. But I've set out the premise. I've set out the context. Get at me in the comments below. Little quick one to start the year. Welcome back. 2025 Caribbean Cricket Podcast. We're out here. Let this be the year that we get sponsorship as well. If you're interested in sponsoring Caribbean Cricket Podcasts, you don't know already. You know what we offer. You know the numbers we bring, etc., etc. If you're interested in sponsoring, reach out, caribcricket@gmail.com, DM us, whatever it might be. Follow us on all the social handles, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, Facebook, Discord, Blue Sky, OnlyFans, X, all of those handles, whatever they may be, find us, follow us, engage. If you'd like to support but you don't want to sponsor, head to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket for as little as £1, £1, £1 rupee, £1 lakh, one Eastern Caribbean dollars, whatever your currency is. Every little bit helps. And if you want one of these brand new, fresh Caribbean Cricket Podcasts beanies to warm up your head top, fresh, DM us. They're available right now, but they're selling out quick. So hit me up before we're sold out, people. Caribbean Cricket Podcast beanies. Can't stop, won't stop. See you all very, very soon.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.